In his ongoing effort to cover the economy from every conceivable angle, our economics editor, Dan Gross, has just returned from a trip to North Dakota, where you are going to see what you call the bizarro world of the U.S. economy. This is sort of what's happening everywhere else. It's different in North Dakota. What's happening there?
It's the absolute inverse of the United States. Unemployment rate, 3%. Housing prices up year over year over year for 3 or 4 years. Inventory of housing, virtually non-existent. And the reason is, it's twofold. One is oil. There has been a huge boom in oil production in the western part of the state. They have shale oil,
right?
And they discovered oil there in the 50s. They had a small amount of production. 2007, they started they go down, they drill horizontally, and then they use fracking to get the oil out. So production has more than doubled since 2007. 113 million barrels in 2010. I think there were 45 million in 2007. It's gone from a $2 billion to a $12 billion industry in the last 4 or 5 years. Tax collections related to oil and gas production, 250 million in 2007, 750 million in 2010. Of course, that's another big difference between North Dakota and all the other states. Other states are struggling with deficits.
Right.
These guys they're increasing their budget, and they have a surplus on top of it.
Right, and you were telling me that there's so much, well, it's a relatively sparsely populated state. There's so much demand for people to work in the oil business that employees at McDonald's are making $50 an hour in North Dakota?
15.
15, okay, all right. But still.
Plus, they may get all the sausage McMuffins they can eat.
Right,
but does not hold a candle to the buffalo jerky.
We have the buffalo jerky.
Yeah, so in the western part of the state, the urbanized part of the state is the far east, Fargo, Grand Forks. That's sort of on the border with Minnesota. Then you have Bismarck in the center, and then the west is mostly kind of cattle country. But they literally, they don't have people. A lot of these towns have depopulated. They are bringing in modular housing and what they call man camps, which does not involve sitting around watching a lot of ESPN and drinking beer.
Ah, because I was going to sign up. That sounded pretty good, right? Yeah, man camp.
Now these are housing complexes that they can build quickly, because when you are drilling, they have 173 rigs in North Dakota. You bring in a lot of people, and then when you get the production up and running, you don't need quite as many people. But the demand for labor, these jobs in the oil fields pay a ton. And so the service jobs, people working at gas stations, convenience stores, restaurants, they were telling me there's people advertising for a cook for like $1,500 a week. So jobs without a lot of truck drivers. I went to the jobs office. They have 15,000 jobs posting. A lot of them, you have a sheaf of papers of truck drivers, CPAs, bookkeepers, all sorts of jobs related to this. Not many places for them to live, and not much of a local labor force to draw on.
That's really interesting. I mean, but because it's based on natural resources, they also have a big agricultural business there
as well. That's the other component. And so when you look at kind of these global growth and monetary policy, all the reasons that commodities are high and energy is high, which are bad for people who consume a lot of this stuff.
Right.
As bad as it is, that's great for the producers. And North Dakota, in addition to having oil, they are a huge agricultural state. They are among the largest producers in soybeans, canola, a lot of grains I've never heard of and have never consumed. So that part of the economy is doing really well. And then, of course, that spills over into everything else locally.
But what I was going to say, it's not something that you can replicate anywhere. It's something that's endemic to North Dakota and other states that have
so they have the geology and the climate, but the reality is, if the U.S. economy looked a little more like North Dakota and a little less like Las Vegas and Nevada, we'd be in better shape.